Welcome to the Off-the-Road Gittin podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
What's up, guys? I'm Loren Healy.
This is our podcast about anything and everything off-road. Tonight, it's going to be very dirty. We're going to talk a lot about the dirt. I'm very excited about it. As always, we're socially distanced. We've got 3 different time zones tonight, but it's not our usual East Coast Central Pacific. We're going to go East Coast Central Mountain because I'm in Kansas City, Ross is in Connecticut, and Lauren's in New Mexico. So we've adjusted, but we still have 3 time zones. Mm-hmm. The randomness. Yeah, the randomness of rarely, we've never all been in the same time zone. We're always separated. So
I just spent 2 weeks at the Hammer, so I'm technically probably still on Pacific time anyway.
You're functioning on Pacific time.
Brain hasn't returned yet.
Yeah. The fun fact is Ross and I still have never been in the same physical place.
Wow.
We've been in the same time zone.
Yep.
When I go visit family in Florida, but we've never been in the same place. The news is always silly to me because our show, we're kind of like tape delaying our shows. So like this one's not going to air till like Marchish. But we're going to talk about some Jeeps.
Marchish.
Jeep. I could give you an accurate date later when I look at the calendar. But Jeep debuted 2, are we calling them appearance packages? Because that's what they are, right?
That's kind of what everything that they do is on top of just the model plus, whatever wheels and tires they put on it.
I will say, like, aren't those 392 wheels just painted black?
They sure look like it. So they're calling this the unnecessary spinoff. No, the High Tide Special Edition and the Jeep Beach Special Edition. So they take a Sport S, they put on the 35s and what look like the 392 wheels. And then I think it also gets the axles, 456s from the actual Rubicon Extreme package. And then they put some decals on it. And then you get the sunbonnet thing instead of a full hardtop. And that's it. And it's a special edition because they have an unlimited parts bin to pull stuff from and a very nice decal cutting machine.
Is there any difference between actually parts that go on the High Tide and parts that go on the beach, or is it just like the sticker package?
It's literally the sticker. So I read something somewhere that was like it's the special edition of a special edition, and it's like a limited run because they do this big Jeep Beach thing every year, and like tens of thousands of people show up. I think it's somewhere in Florida, and they're not saying it's like a commemorative edition for that event, but it says beach on it, So
my favorite part is I'm going to be like, go get in the Jeep Beach.
That's like a Nickelodeon joke.
Should we start the dad joke counter?
Yeah.
I've been to Jeep Beach quite a few times, and it actually fits what that event's all about. You cruise up and down the beach in your flip-flops and hang out and have cocktails and chill. There's not a whole lot of wheeling there to be done, but it's a good time.
It sounds like a pretty great way to spend a weekend, though.
Yeah.
Is it Texas or is it Florida?
It is Florida, Daytona Beach.
Okay.
Oh, at Daytona. Oh, I mean,
so years ago with my 05 TJ, I drove my Jeep on that beach.
Nice.
That's a really long time ago. And I called it an 05. It was an 04. So
what happens if you just show up in something that's not a Jeep?
Do you drive on the beach?
I'm going to be there with a whole fleet of Broncos this year, so I guess I'm going to find out. Yep,
that's awesome.
We're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into that later.
The only other thing newsworthy is there's a spy shot, but we don't know what it's called, other than we know it's a GMC Sierra. But we've already seen the AT4, so it's got to be something else.
Right. So we know Chevy is doing a ZR2 version of the Silverado, and this looks to be GMC's version. I can't tell what tire are those. Right? Are those? They're not MTRs, but they look like
Wranglers. Wranglers.
Goodyear Wranglers.
Yeah, and it's got sliders. It's got like actual like 45 or 60 degree sliders, which is nice. And that's it. And then it's going to be the slightly fancier version of Chevy's ZR2. So
I kind of want it to come with those wheel covers on it, like almost
great,
like a turbofan throwback on a pickup truck. Like,
yeah, exactly. Here's a truck with suspension technology that is more advanced than computers and science were when turbofans came out.
Yeah.
that would make any sense.
We should definitely throw the 390 or the turbofan. But anyway, that's
that's
the news.
That's the
Except you've got news.
I have minor news. So the Lexus is still in progress. Last few pieces are coming together. So I have a GX 460 that is going through the full onslaught of things as we speak.
Bumper,
suspension, wheels, tires, winch. Yeah, the deal. So hopefully you're going to pick that up later this week. And my other news I'll go through quickly. So I have a Jaguar F-Pace SVR that I've been driving for the last week.
Which You're not going with dad joke number 2?
Yeah.
No, that's your joke.
Going with
I'm mad. You ignored it. So.
I've been saying it to everybody. Oh, what's a pirate's favorite Jaguar? SVR. Ding. Yep. So I took that up to Massachusetts over the weekend with my brother, and we, romped on it pretty good. And it's on 21-inch wheels and pretty low profile winter tires. So we naturally took it off road and bombed around one of the state parks the best that we could. Eventually hit a point at which the options were stack rocks and still possibly have the oil pan a little too close for comfort, or turn around. So we turned around, and I know Chris is dying to bring this picture up, but I'm back
trying to get to it so bad. Slack takes forever to load.
In all fairness, it was like unplowed snow and ice, and the Jag actually did really well. And then on the way back, there was a section of like moguls where you could get crossed up and flex the suspension. And let's just say that the dynamics are much better than the flex. And we like pulled a little bit forward, and I felt the back end kind of lose traction a little bit. And I said to my brother, it's like, you think like the back right's off the ground? And he pops his head out the door and pops his head back, and he goes, holy shit. And the right rear was like 14 inches off the ground, like not even, doing anything stupid, just by nature of how the suspension had loaded up on the left front. So that was fun. And, the Jag's great. It's the loudest production car I've ever heard. And it's stupid fast, but it's awesome. And it will be replaced tomorrow. And that's after I moved up like a foot so that he could actually climb out without falling on the ice. So that was fun. And then, this thing's loud and fast, and tomorrow it gets swapped out for the Ram TRX, which is louder and faster.
And bigger.
And much bigger. Which I think almost 3,000 pounds bigger.
I still need to confirm, because I'm pretty sure that that's the first vehicle that you and I will both have driven.
Well, we both drove the 4Runner that I bought off of you.
That's true. Okay. Does that one count?
Technically, this will be the first press rig that the two of us have driven. So yeah, so that was the Jag. You can't really tell in this picture, but to the left of the left front wheel, that's actually like a 1 foot ice shelf drop, and it's jagged. So trying to get around this was like, almost putting the thing in the rocks on the side. And it just got to the point where we said, let's not damage the press car. So it was fun. It's a hell of a car. I'm writing a review for Hooniverse. I fucking love this thing.
What's the sticker on it?
So base on the SVR is 84. I should know this. I read this about 2 hours ago. Base is 84.6, and this one has a whole bunch of stuff, so it's 98. But I don't know. It's a fast thing that can do it all for 98.
Yeah. So if you don't get the SVR, it's probably in like what, the 70s?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I think
it's a regular F-Pace,
50 or 60s, but I mean, this is 550 horsepower and a supercharged V8 with an exhaust button that makes it louder than anything I've heard that's bone stock.
Until you get to tomorrow's rig.
Until I don't know, man. This thing, like, we drove it through a tunnel and we just giggled for like 45 seconds.
I think you're gonna have just as much fun this weekend too. So complete tangent, because it wouldn't be a show if we didn't tangent at all. My wife and I binged the new Reacher series on Amazon.
It's supposed to be good.
Absolutely love it, because they actually got an actor who is the height of the character from the books. So that by itself made it delightful. But there are some like car heroes in it, and one of them is an F-Pace. And I was just like,
really?
it pops up in the show, and I completely didn't expect it to be there. And then it was like it has its moments of glory and then dies a death, as most vehicles do on an action show. So,
but he will always be Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State.
Dude, not anymore. It's a different.
Really?
Yeah, you are right. That's how I introduced it. Like when I was like, hey, remember that guy from that football show? Like, he's the actor in this now, and he does an amazing. They bulked him up so much. He does not look like Thad at all. So
okay,
you'll enjoy it when you finally get to it. So,
anyways, moving on.
You and I both have ways now to talk if we ever get within 30 miles of each other.
Yes, we do. Thereabouts. But yeah, we've been talking about this, or thinking about talking about this for a while.
Yeah, it's been on the show notes, I think, for 3 shows that we have not talked about the fact that we both got Midland radios.
Yes, thank you, Midland.
But yours is way fancier than mine.
Yes, it's the new one that we spoke about with Zach when he was on the show. So the MTX 500, it's a 50-watt radio, and they sent that little ghost antenna too.
Yeah,
so
the 3 decibel gain.
So my, I have a couple fire sticks that are sitting out in the garage that'll now just
continue to collect dust.
Yeah, maybe that and like a couple sets of tie rods, I can make some fancy wind chimes. I don't know.
So the best part about that little antenna for your truck is like, because your truck is black, no one will ever notice that antenna on your truck ever.
That's right.
Where mine is completely white and it will stand out so much.
Paint it red, make it, just lean into it.
Oh, we're still talking about wrap. So the only other thing is the company I was talking to about suspension said no today. So I'm back to looking for ways to raise the front end of the 2017 Suburban. That was kind of poopy.
Figured out.
But it happens.
I got it.
If you don't ask questions, you're never going to hear a yes. So you gotta get a couple no's to hear a yes. So
Sure.
That's kind of the updates. But I did price tow hooks for the front of it because those seem to be very necessary for a massively large truck.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, she's got 2 things on the front. I'll pop those plastic things out and the tow hooks go right in. Yeah, they don't pop out. It's one solid piece of plastic on the front end. So I have to pop that entire piece off, spend another $40 to get another giant plastic piece to go on that will then allow me to put tow hooks on the truck. So, or
you take your Dremel and Dremel it out so things fit.
I mean, maybe that might be it's not the first time I've grinded something off the front of that truck because that air dam's still down there and I freaking hate it.
Grinded?
I used an angle grinder. Did I say ground?
No, you said grinded.
Oh, grinded is not the right word. It's definitely ground. I ground it down.
Yeah, we speak somewhat professionally.
We don't need to go into the fact that I write words for a living right now.
I mean, it's a fair point. So
that's completely, yeah. Industrial bearings is very different from this.
Seriously.
So,
anyways, now on to the fun stuff.
Loren, what do you want to talk about, man? Where do you want to start? Where do you want to go?
Up to you guys. Where you want to go? Back where all this started? You want to talk about KOH? Where you want to go?
Way back.
Let's go way back. All right. Growing up in New Mexico, going to high school, and rock crawling had just been born. Competitive rock crawling, they were doing it in like Las Cruces, New Mexico, some out in Southern California, out in Johnson Valley, and here in Farmington, New Mexico, where I, was going to high school and growing up. And it kind of influenced my life, at a pretty young age. We'd go out there and we'd watch these professional rock crawlers out here in my backyard doing their thing. It was, Walker Evans and, some of the heroes of the sport were out there doing this. And it's what we'd go do on the weekends and go watch them. And then we wanted to do what they were doing. So we'd take, at that point I was driving an old 76 International Scout, and I wanted to go try to do it too. So we'd take it out there and go break our junk and try to run some trails and climb some stuff, and we'd break it and we'd fix it. And who would have known that it was, teaching me to be a King of the Hammers, Ultra4 off-road racer and what all this would turn into. But
all right, this is labeled Farmington, so it's
yep. Oh, Jesus.
So that's one of my very good friends,
Is it
Glenn
really?
Donald, in that buggy. I might even be in that picture somewhere. Hard to tell, but that's my crew and my boys that we'd be out wheeling on the weekends on a pretty regular basis.
That was fun.
For the listener, if you look like, it looks like it's almost rock formations from Utah that you put in amongst trees of New Mexico, and then a Jeep trying to climb up all of it.
Yeah, and we're not far from Moab or the sandstone like you're talking about. It takes me about 3 hours to get over to Moab. So it's a little bit browner sandstone, but the same type of stuff, and much more vertical climbs that with great traction. So we can do some silly stuff that you can't do on the granite rocks.
So you started with a Scout, sorry, not a Harvester. Jesus.
Yeah. Started with a Scout. It was it broke all the time, so it was a great vehicle to learn how to mechanic on and how to turn wrenches and get yourself out of tough situations.
You said 67?
76. It was what was it? The Traveler. So the Travel All was the big one. Traveler was and then the Scout 2 was the shorter one. So I had the medium one with the 345 V8, and she was a good time.
So
I got really pretty pictures. So
how slippery was the slope of like going into lockers and skids and sliders and everything, or was it get out of the Scout and then find something more dedicated?
So my other thing growing up was sports and athletics. I loved soccer, basketball, baseball. Went to Southwestern Oregon on a soccer scholarship and blew my knee apart. So I had a very competitive nature, I guess you would say, coming from an athletic background. And once that was over, it was time to just concentrate on school and grow up a little bit, because I blew my knee apart, and it was just the end of athletics for me, unfortunately. And I think at that point I was just kind of looking for something else to grab a hold of and put all your time and effort into it. So I bought what was it, like a 05 TJ, and same thing. It was short wheelbase and same. I put lockers on it, 35s, and was going to college. This was my daily driver, and was just out wheeling on the weekends all the time, with a big group of friends, and started with a Dana 30 and broke the crap out of that, and put a 44 in it and broke the crap out of that, and then put some 60s underneath it, and then started breaking everything else. Like find the weak point. The traditional way of learning how to wheel and work your way through, and kind of taking baby steps. And then once I graduated college, had a decent job in the oil and gas industry, here in northern New Mexico. That's one of the good ways to make a living around here. And was making some good money and needed to play with some toys. So built, like, not a competitive rock crawler, but a full tube chassis with 383 stroker in it, and sticky 40-inch tires and that type of stuff. And that's what me and all my friends were doing, as we were 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that age range. And we were just out wheeling and going on wheeling trips all over the country every weekend. It's what kind of fueled us. And randomly there was an event. There was a pro rock crawling event, which is literally like 4 miles from my house where I live right now, out in Chokecherry Canyon. And the promoter, the owner of Ultra4 Racing, Dave Cole, he comes here to do this event. And we never signed up for a competitive event. We never had done it. We did this one because we were so sick of not being able to buy competitive sticky BFG rock crawler tires. Okay. And the competitors wouldn't sell them to us. So we're like, okay, we're going to sign up for one event, and we're going to go be able to buy tires, because now we have a racer number and we can buy tires. And Dave Cole's there, and he starts telling us all about this dream of the King of the Hammer. So I think he had ran the first one at that point. This had to have been about 07 or 08. And he's telling us about, this dream of, all these guys racing for a 6-pack of beer or a case of beer. And they're all out in Johnson Valley, and they're running all these trails. And then they come back to the campfire to see who wins. And I'm like, that's what me and my friends are doing every weekend right now. What do you like? This is right up our alley.
Right. So you guys are betting beer on this?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. and that's how it started. So the next year, me and one of my best friends, Rodney, went out there in this beat up trail buggy that I had, and that was 2009. Hadn't ever raced a day in my life, no racing experience, never had competed in anything other than that little rock crawl event as far as motorsports. And we qualified second, got in through the LCQ, qualified second, and burned this truck down in like 5 miles into the race. I mean, we broke through the seats, we're sitting on the mufflers, seats are on fire, break the transmission, tail housing off the transmission, and I mean, all this happens in like 5 or 8 miles. But
how'd you finish?
We didn't. That was it.
Oh.
That's how we finished. That was the end.
5 miles in, he finished.
Yeah, but
ball parts,
right. But I was completely hooked. So I go back home, talk my wife into a second mortgage on my house, build a very, very basic Ultra4 truck. I mean, very basic, but it was an actual race truck, you know, real parts, real motor. What's that?
What constitutes very basic?
So that truck then costs like $40,000-$50,000 to build. The Ultra4 trucks now are, you know, the top tier ones are breaking 600,000 or more for one. So it was a nice trail rig with real parts in it. I guess a real LS3,
right?
That type of stuff in it.
Did it have a nickname?
That one did not.
Okay.
That one did not that I can remember. And that was 2009. We went home, built that, came back for our second race ever, and won King of the Hammers.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So at that point, like my competitive nature, you know, really had taken off a little bit, and I was hooked. You know,
that's crazy.
Somehow I killed my screen there. All right,
you're good. You're still there.
Yep, there we are. So that's 2014. So that's 5 years of when I had been racing there. That's the Red Dragon. That's probably the car you're thinking of that had a nickname. But yeah, we won King of the Hammers that year in 2010. Came home, washed the dust off of it and changed the oil in it, and came back and won the Silver State 300 the next race.
Oh my God.
Went home, changed the oil, washed it, and won the next race, and then ended up winning the championship that year. So and literally that's when the very first sponsor called and is like, hey, you know, you're pretty good at this. We'll give you a few bucks and you can go out racing. And that was the lesson you had to learn, that they'll give you $1. It's going to cost you $10 to take that $1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it that's when it started snowballing for me. And so, you know, we just kept racing every year, racing the series, growing with the sport. And now it's been, you know, since 2009. So we've been racing for about 15 years now. Things have continued to grow. I quit my job about 4 years ago now. And I was kind of doing a bad job of running a professional race team and having a real day job as well.
Yeah.
Right. Burning the candle at both ends, and it just kept meeting in the middle and whooping my butt. But so jumped off a cliff, quit my job, you know, took this on as you know, a full serious race program, and it's been going amazing. A year later,
that's awesome.
Vaughn Gittin Jr. and I met. We were already friends, but he was looking to come race Ultra4 and take it serious. So we took his program in under my umbrella, you know, and it's just been an amazing partnership, you know, both working, you know, everybody working off of each other's strengths. He's amazing at marketing. He's a great driver. You know, our mechanical ability, our shop, I've got an amazing crew, and we just combined forces, and it's just been straight to the moon since then. It's been unreal to watch the growth.
So who is your team? The two of you now, or is there anybody else on the team?
So Vaughn and I actually brought on a third driver this year, Josh Barkey of MBRP Exhaust, who's a longtime partner of mine. They've been sponsoring my program for 8 or 9 years now. And they came and have raced a little bit of Ultra4 here and there, but they wanted to build an identical truck to the trucks Vaughn and I are racing, and kind of wanted to come hit it hard. So he just did his first race with us at King of the Hammers.
How'd he do?
He was doing very well and had a little bit of a mishap in the desert. Almost wrecked the truck, saved it, but in doing that, he broke an axle shaft as well as a steering rack. So very
game ender.
Similar bodies, but that's Jason Shear's truck. So Josh is, this is last year's picture of the debut of the new Bronco bodies and everything. So very, very close, but not quite.
So how many are you running, like a full calendar year or full schedule? How is it? It varies.
Yeah, it's crazy. We race 8 to 10 weekends a year, and then we do marketing events like Easter Jeep Safari, Jeep Beach, SEMA, Trail Hero, something like that every other weekend that we're not racing. So we typically do 30 to 35 weekends a year out at events. So if we're not in our race truck, you know, I've got a 4-wheel steer red dot rock crawler. We've got a couple really, really cool Broncos. We're building a couple really even more ridiculous Broncos right now with our relationship and partnership with Ford. So we've got a cool fleet of stuff that we love showing off to people and out wheeling with people and out running the Rubicon or doing something. Yeah, that's my red dot buggy right there. And that's actually my backyard here in Farmington.
This is where we start joking about, are you guys hiring?
Yeah, right.
we always are, actually. Like it's we keep growing so fast that we
That's
always
awesome.
need good people and people that like to have fun, like Vaughn and I.
That's awesome. So you mentioned, I mean, on the same note of needing to hire people, the upward trajectory. Did you see the kind of like uptick in attention that you expected from the new Bronco, or did that like throw a total curveball?
I knew how cool it was. So we've been involved with the engineering team and got to, help with some durability testing. When you buy a Bronco, you get to do what's called the Bronco off-rodeo. It comes with your Bronco. And so Vaughn and I helped develop the courses and worked with that experience. They're all over the country. There's 4 different experiences all over the country. And so we've been very highly involved for quite a while now. And I knew how special the Bronco was. Ford listened. They went out. They really did their homework. They listened to the off-road community of what everybody wanted, what everybody needed, and built the perfect vehicle for them. And it's no surprise that they have 200,000 orders for them already, and that everybody out there. So that's the Fun Runner Bronco. We debuted at SEMA. Yep. Vaughn and I have launched a parts company. So he had RTR and was doing Mustang stuff and F-150 and Ranger. He's been doing that for 15 years now. With knowing that the Bronco was coming, we also have launched Fun Haver Off-Road, which you can see a bunch of the parts on this Bronco. So that's got our company's front bumper, has our wide body fiberglass, our mid-travel suspension. So it's 3 inches wider per side. Bolt-in Fox shocks, bolt-in rear Dana 60, set up for a little bit of a desert experience type vehicle, similar to what Ford did with the Raptor.
Did you know that your fiberglass fenders were going to look better than their Raptor fenders?
Yeah.
We may have seen those before they got released to the public, and knew that an all fiberglass fender would fit very well on the Bronco Raptor.
That rig looks awesome.
Dude, I love the Fun Runner. It looks so good.
At the Bronco Raptor, it looks like Forza or Gran Turismo or something.
Right. Well, the good thing is our fiberglass will bolt right onto it, and you can change the style of it if you'd like to.
I will say, yours don't have those like shark gills, and those do provide engine cooling. So
that they do.
If David Tracy has taught us anything about vehicle design, like don't mess with the stuff that's about cooling. So
right. Oh man. So what's in your like personal garage right now? What's your do you have some wild stuff that you drive daily that's not Bronco?
So right now I'm driving a 2021 Bronco bolt-on 2-inch lift kit, 37-inch Nitto trail grapplers, forged bead locks. And that's been my play toy for about the last year, and my daily driver. So I've ran the Rubicon, I've ran all the trails in Moab with it, Trail Hero, all that stuff, and I jump in and daily drive it around. It's been awesome.
Which motor is
it's the 2.7 10 speed. It was a Sasquatch, even though I replaced the replace the suspension, but all the drivetrain parts are pretty much stock. I did do some RCV axle shafts up front. But otherwise pretty much stock components, and kind of been pushing the limits on that. Right now we're in the process of designing we're going to call our hardcore XLT kit that'll be built for like a 40 or 42 inch, replace axles, coilovers, bypasses, Atlas transfer case, all the big boy stuff that, same thing that we did with Jeeps forever to be able to do the crazy wild stuff. So you'll be seeing that here pretty quick, and hopefully by Easter Jeep Safari I'll have that done.
Dude, you just said you did Rubicon in it. What's crazier than the Rubicon?
I'm a huge fan of the Rubicon. So we do Jeepers Jamboree up there every year. And I have 3 young kids, and that's one of the trips that I look forward to every year. We take them in, we camp in the Springs for 3 days. They have no phone service. So they're not, you're right. It's great. They're not glued to their phones. We get a bunch of good family time. We camp in a tent, we cook some food. It's one of my favorite events of the year. And so I couldn't think of any better place. We literally finished bolting the bumpers on that thing the night before in my buddy's shop in Sacramento.
Nice.
And drove it straight to the Rubicon and wheeled through the Rubicon. So it was a blast.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So when you take your own personal vehicles that aren't like the race trucks out, do you trailer them, or do you just get in and drive?
So like that one, we were on a huge trip all the way from Sacramento. We went up to Yellowstone and then over to Sturgis to race and at Bike Week. So I was hauling a whole trailer full of stuff at that point. I had my Fun Runner Ranger that's on 40s that we built that 2 or 3 years ago, and knowing that Bronco was going to come on a similar platform to Ranger, and we wanted to start seeing what we had to do to put a Bronco on 40s. So we cut that truck all apart, put it on 40s, and my 15-year-old daughter actually didn't even have her driver's license yet and drove that Ranger through the Rubicon behind me in the Bronco.
That's amazing.
It's pretty rad. Proud dad moment for sure.
That's crazy.
My oldest is 13 and already starting to be like, so what could I drive? I'm like, how much money you got?
Yep. So that picture right there is when we debuted it. We literally had just finished putting it together and brought it out to the Hammers. Since then, we cut the fenders up, made room for 40s, and changed up some stuff. It looks really pretty right there, but
it's very clean.
Yeah, very clean. But yeah, that truck's been amazing. Great development platform for us for Bronco, and we're way ahead and ready to make Broncos on 40s and 42s. Super cool.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. That's a shit ton of tire.
It is.
Yep.
So speaking of a lot of tire, we have to talk about Hammers and the video from qualifying. Really, that was like, totally stole the show for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of people actually thought I got lost and took a wrong turn, or, just kind of thought it was a lucky bounce. But so that wall, we ran that wall about 5 years ago, and about, I want to say 10 or 20 competitors dropped it that year. But there's the other way around. That wall was about 5 seconds faster in qualifying. And so to me, if I can make up 5 seconds, I'm typically going to try it. I did that drop like 10 times during practice. So it wasn't really any by a lucky bounce or anything like that. Like I had the line, I knew exactly how to drop it with speed. It's very important that your front tires kiss that ledge and pop the front of the truck out for you. So if you kind of jump off of it too fast, then you can get into trouble. But as long as your front tires kiss that ledge and pop you out, you're good. I've probably done it, I don't know, 15 times or so, over my racing career off that same ledge.
It looked like, it didn't look freakish. It looked like you knew exactly, it looked calculated the whole way through. Like
it definitely was. Yeah. It doesn't bother me at all. I'll take you for a ride on it if you want to come out to the Hammers next time.
Yes,
let's go.
I'm in. Sign me up. Like I will ride that.
It looks calculated to you because you know what you're looking at. To somebody who's never seen something from Hammers before, they think that you're like launching off a cliff.
Well, that's why the reverse angle that like shows so much more the other way. Like it doesn't show that like, yeah, there's still a hill on the other side. Like the reverse angle from the left side, it looks like you just dropped off the ledge into nothing. Like it's just so good.
It's crazy.
Social media definitely grabbed it and ran with it though. It was pretty awesome to see it go like wildfire. The next corner we had to climb up a pretty steep cliff going up it, and I broke my first gear in my transmission and lost momentum, and cost me probably all of the 5 seconds that I had just made up there plus a few. So I ended up fourth in qualifying, which I was glad that I got to the finish line, because starting dead last is always pretty rough. But
even the stills are just so fantastic.
that one right there, it looks pretty vertical right there. Like that's like 75 degrees probably. That's pretty vertical.
It's pretty steep.
It's like, pretty close.
Just hopping down. I got it.
No biggie.
How'd the weekend go? The races otherwise?
Well, let me tell you one more cool tech thing about that drop off. So we just integrated Fox live valve shocks. So what that is, I mean, you've seen it on Ford Raptors, you've seen it on Polaris Razors, you've seen it on Kawasaki KRXs. There's sensors all over the vehicle that are smarter than the driver. And they know it when you're in the air and the shock's not moving. They know it when your steering wheel's at full lock. They know it when your brake pressure is really high, and it's making adjustments on each individual shock or all the shocks together off of what the vehicle dynamics are doing. And it's not super new technology, but in the racing world, we haven't been able to use it in off-road racing yet. And so we just integrated it in there. It was my very first race, working with this product. And I think that was a big part also of allowing me to do that drop so smoothly. In years past, I hadn't been able to do it quite that fast, but the shocks knew that I was jumping off of something, knew that I was at full extension for more than a half a second, or the milliseconds it's reading at. And so it went full stiff, full compression, and popped the front end off for me like that, and then brought the truck down and landed super smooth for me.
Do you tune the electronics portion of the live valve system at all? I
don't. The engineers at Fox, people much smarter about vehicle dynamics and shock technology, they do it. And then they come sit in my passenger seat, and I go rip through the desert and do all the stupid things that I do. And they sit there and data log it and make electronic changes to it.
That's awesome.
And they just keep making it better and better and faster for me. Yeah. It's pretty wild.
It's so good to see it being taken advantage of, because it was probably 10 years ago or 12 years ago that we saw like magnetic ride start to make its way into street cars, with the Cadillac V's and the Corvette, and even like some Ferraris back then. I mean, shit, Chris's Suburban has magnetic ride now, but then it got
super willing to replace.
Yeah. and then we started to see the like predictive adaptive stuff, that can load and unload based on what it's sensing and seeing, and based on, like pitch and roll and everything. Yeah. And it makes even more sense off-road, because, suspension travel and angles are more so than street cars will ever see.
Right. And with King of the Hammers, we do so many different facets of off-road. So we rock crawl at a half a mile an hour through Volkswagen sized boulders, and you need a completely different shock setting than when you're doing 120 miles an hour in 3 foot deep whoops. And either one of those makes the truck horrible in the other setting. And so now that we can literally change the shock adjustment with a switch and tell it, okay, I'm in rock crawl mode, and I want to go a half a mile an hour, and I want it to be nice and soft and squishy. And I don't want the truck to unload whenever I'm on a waterfall driving up it. And I want it to compress and make the rear go stiff and give me more traction when I'm climbing vertical. And then when I get out in the desert, I want it to absorb these whoops at 100 miles an hour and take these G outs and do all this stuff for me. That's the huge game changer in it for me and off-road and Ultra4 specifically, because we never could make the shocks do exactly what we wanted them to do.
It's right. It's like trying to, be like a 55-meter sprinter and also, a marathon runner at the same time.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect
steeplechase.
Analogy.
And steeplechase, yes. And also, do you physically have a switch that you like a rocker switch?
We do. So we got a 3-position switch and there could be more positions if we wanted more positions, but we have one that we call rock crawl mode, and we call that our under 10 mph speed. And that's the one I jumped off the cliff with. I have a second setting that we call that our nuisance rock. And that's like about our 15 to about 40 mph. And so that's taken big boulder hits and big G outs and, the slower, more annoying trails and giving you a little bit of comfort. Right. And then we have our kill mode that, is our 3rd position that when we're above 50, 60, 70 miles an hour doing crazy stuff and can take really big hard hits and the truck can absorb it.
So real fast, when you talk about the shocks that you integrated in this, are those the same shocks that are in the Bronco Raptor now too?
So they have the exact same technology and valves on it. Okay. So the Bronco Raptor doesn't have a bypass shock as well, okay, but the valves that are on the shocks and the technology that Fox is putting into that is doing the exact same thing. It's just they only have one shock on the truck where we have 2. Right. So it's got an internal bypass. It's doing all of that into one shock where we need a bigger shock to control 800 horsepower and 42-inch tall tires and, right, and that type of stuff.
The F-150 Raptor uses that technology too.
Yep, exactly. And the new Bronco Raptor. So this is our 4600 Ford Performance Bronco. So this
winner.
Yep, we did. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was exciting. This was a Ford backed race program that was their idea. They wanted to come and race in the stock class, which the stock class has very, very strict rules. You can't modify the frame. You have to have functional, full doors. It's very, very stock class, and max tire size of 35-inch tires, has to retain, the body, has to retain the look of a Bronco. So we worked closely with Ford, a couple other teams, Brad and Roger Lovell, and Bailey Cole and Jason Shear. So they built 3 of these vehicles. We all kind of gave all of our knowledge from 10, 15 years of rock crawling and rock racing and all the stuff that we've been doing together, and along with the Ford Performance Engineering team, and all came up with these Broncos that just worked amazing. And we set a goal 2 years ago of winning King of the Hammers out here at this race, and we executed perfectly. We finished first. Brad Lovell finished second, and Bailey Cole finished third. Nice. There was only 4 in the 4600 class, and we worked our way up into the top 5 overall of this race. So we started something like 80th, and we finished up into the top 10. We had a little bit of a different course deviation, but it was quite the feat. We really turned some heads with these stock class Broncos in the Everyman Challenge race this weekend.
Yeah, a feat like that where you punch above your weight kind of tells all. So that's wild. It was a fun year to watch. Having followed obviously from afar, but following along from afar, it's always fun. But this year was especially exciting for some reason.
It was a big year. I think it's, KOH is always gaining traction, but this year, like even out there on the lake bed, they were talking 150,000 people out there this year, like almost double the people came through the gate to watch the race this year.
That's great.
Everything grew exponentially. And it was,
people forget this is on a lake bed where there's
right. No, a dry open lake bed. And we call it the Burning Man of motorsports.
Exactly.
And we go build a city out there. We have Wi-Fi, we have running water, we have generators that are running everything, full grilled, medical, helicopters, live streaming TV.
Yep.
We have to get our event out to the world, and it keeps growing, and this year was no different.
I'm sure you've noticed that too over the last few years. Just the way in which it's covered, partially from like just the event making its way to the forefront of the automotive media. It's being covered now, not just by the off-road guys, but also by like the big outlets, and, drones and actual photographers getting out there, and people doing videos. It was unknown 5 years ago, except to people in the know. And now it's, it's big time.
It definitely is. It's been amazing to be part of the growth. And 10 years ago, if you'd asked me this was what my whole life would be and my career and everything would turn into what it has, I'd have told you were crazy. But it's been exciting and it's great for off-road. And we work closely with the military out there and keeping public land open to off-roaders. The military or the base out there actually tried to close Johnson Valley down, and Dave Cole, the owner of Ultra4, went to bat over it and kept Johnson Valley open to the public. So there's a lot of cool, fun stuff that comes out there and the tough side of it too is as it grows outside of our off-road community as well. So we get a lot of people that are out there now that are more for a show and drinking and partying and not that
Burning
wasn't
man.
always out there,
Yeah.
but there's good and bad that comes with growth like that for sure.
I mean, that's why half the people go to SEMA.
Yep.
What, Chris?
SEMA is a different animal. That's just
So
there's not supposed to really be like spectators. Everybody's supposed to be part of the industry. But...
Right.
Yeah, about that. So are there any events that you want to do that you have like on the radar for the future? Or
I mean, I pretty familiar with most of the off-road events. I love Easter Jeep Safari because Moab's like my second home. I love the social aspect of that because the whole industry's there. I know the trails are crowded and there's too many people there, but I like seeing all my friends and getting to hang out with everybody and going wheeling. The one of the events that I really like that's growing and up and coming is Trail Hero. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that's in Sand Hollow, and that's one of my favorites. It's Sand Hollow it's kind of the new Moab to me. The trails that are being developed out there, and you're right there on a lake, and there's sand dunes, and everything's right there. It's quickly growing to be one of the coolest off-road spots in the U.S. right now.
It seems very diverse. Like I've seen videos where people go from literally sand to, like slick rock crawling over the course of like 10 minutes.
And there's big mountains. You can be, up into the snow if you want to. It's great rivers and lakes. It's really cool. It's cool to see that event keep growing and one that we'll continue investing in and being at.
Yeah, everybody knows Moab, but Sand Hollow is getting a ton of publicity too. Even just like, everybody's watching the Matt's Off-Road guys do recoveries, and half of that's at Sand Hollow. It's kind of like you remember when Glamis was the biggest attraction for quads and side-by-sides? That's kind of becoming the Sand Hollow is the same, like this is the hub kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all kinds of
wild.
Cool stuff up there.
We talked about Sand Hollow before. I just can't remember with who.
Oh, that's a great question. And for the life of me, I'm never going to be able to remember. But
that's the problem with doing a lot of these.
It's only going to come up more and more as we continue to do this.
It definitely is the up and coming spot in Utah, or on the west coast right now, and it's still BLM ran facility or park, but they're very OHV supportive. They love the financial backing that comes from the off-road community, and it's always good when somebody wants to support that industry versus try to fight them, which we see in a lot of places. So
man,
yeah,
it is very close to you. It's a long way from me.
Dude, don't even get me started.
Yeah, Moab's about 3 hours. Sand Hollow is about 6 hours from me, so not too terrible, but it is a long ways for you boys.
You were about 14 for me. This is 18 for me. So
drive.
Once you get west of the Mississippi, all the driving distance is just double.
Right.
Have you
not for time, but just distance. Like the distance matches the time.
Not Los Angeles style. Oh, it's 2 miles, but it's 2.5 hours. Have you done any East Coast crawling or off-roading?
I have. So the cool thing about Ultra4 is, we have races all over the country. So I've had the opportunity to go race back in like Pennsylvania at Roush Creek.
Yep.
we've raced in Kentucky. We've Little Rock, Arkansas. I love Hot
Mhm.
Springs. That's a blast to go to. So
You
I
probably
have
missed Paragon. Paragon used to host some off-road racing stuff back before it shut down too.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't make it there.
Yeah. Different
Badlands
animal,
in
though.
Indiana at
Badlands is
Attica.
supposed to be nice. Yeah.
Yep. We used to race up there quite a bit. They're actually going back to race there this year. But I typically, will bring a vehicle to go, run around with and run some trails and check out some area too while we're out there. So Crandon, Wisconsin is one of my favorite places to race, and we love going up there and adventuring around the lakes and checking out stuff up there too.
Have you noticed a huge difference in tactic for crawling on or even just racing on the East Coast stuff where, the rocks can be a little more jagged and dispersed, and
slick and covered in slimy mud
and wet and the best is when there's like moss on the side of one rock and not on the other, and you got one tire that's spinning because it's wet on.
Right. I hate cleaning up mud messes, so I there is a whole different animal of a vehicle that we build versus what the East Coast guys build.
Oh, yeah.
So like your Eric Millers, your Josh Byler's, those guys that come from Pennsylvania and West Virginia and Maryland and that area, they build a solid axle car with a lot of steering angle.
Trees, you got to get around trees.
Tree dodgers. That's exactly what they're building. And then us out here on the West Coast, we build big independent suspension trucks. So yeah, that's Crandon. That's me on the left in second place behind Paul Herschel there. And that's turn one. There's nothing more adrenaline than running into that corner at 100 miles an hour in Crandon. It's wild. But yeah, we build more of an independent front suspension truck that's better for the whoops in the desert and the high speed, because we don't really think about having to go around trees and being quite as nimble and agile as those guys do. And that's the cool thing about King of the Hammers is it's definitely not spec'd. The only real rules that we have are safety related to make sure that if you get in an accident, you're going to stay safe. But it's whoever can come up with the best idea to get through the rocks and the desert and everything that Johnson Valley and King of the Hammers throws at you. And the East Coast guys, they come with their ideas. The West Coast guys come with their ideas, and we all battle it out on the lake bed. And you never know who's gonna win that year. Some of the cars are gonna break, some of them are gonna have problems, and somebody's gonna win. And it's always a wild adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
dude, I love watching them articulate. I love watching all four wheels go a different direction at the same time.
What kind of seats do you run?
We run Recaro. So we've worked very closely with them to help develop their ORV seat line. Knowing that
Vaughn was talking to us about this.
Yeah. There's we're taking ridiculously hard hits on our body out there in the desert. We're just banging our body against these rocks all the time, and we need a good supportive seat, and it wasn't really there on the market. So Recaro's has worked closely with Ford and a bunch of other racing programs and wanted to develop an ORV. And so the amount of technology and testing and data that went into this, we went out and took G-load force hits and tested all kinds of different foams and padding and how to make sure our body was the safest in the seat that it possibly could be, and developed a seat with Recaro. And it's been an amazing seat that's been out there for the last couple of years now.
That's good. I feel like that's something that people kind of don't actually realize about it, because track driving can take a lot out of you just from the G-forces and, sustained attention. But on off-roading, you actually physically get thrown around.
You definitely do. Your body's taking every hit that truck takes. So you've got to be ready for it. And if you don't have the right safety equipment, you're asking to get hurt for a long time.
Stress, even the stress of it is fatiguing you. Me turning laps on Road America in someone else's car, not wanting to put anything into a wall. Like, it wasn't a lot of G-forces, but there's a lot of stress.
Right.
You want to ruin it for everyone else.
For sure. So back to you had asked a little bit so we won the stock class and the Everyman Challenge on Friday, and then the big unlimited Ultra4 race happened on Saturday. I had been developing a new race truck over about the last 6 months. We started testing it about 6 weeks ago. And during the race, I qualified fourth. So I was second row off the line, was in about perfect position, and was starting out the race. But unfortunately, some new truck stuff kind of bit me early on in the race. I ended up losing an electronic throttle body, which is just something new that our program is trying or testing. There's a lot of benefits to it, with all the technology in these trucks that we're kind of bringing to it. But I fixed it, but at that point I was down about 50 positions and started driving like a complete jerk, and then blew up a front corner hub stub something assembly. I don't know exactly what broke yet, but something popped in the front corner. But Vaughn, had an amazing race again. He's been in the top 10 the last 3 years. Absolutely killed it. He had a rough qualifying, and then he started 66th and moved all the way up to 6th place. So he passed 60 racers during the day, and moved up to 6th place. So another top 10 for him. And I guess that's one of the really cool parts of a team effort. And this whole big crew that we have is, even though I had a rough day, Vaughn ended up in the top 10. And so as when one of us is winning, then it feels very similar to when the whole team's winning. So it's pretty awesome. And he's the only crossover driver that's came from a different genre of motorsports. Him coming from Formula Drift with absolutely no off-road experience whatsoever, and now he's won championships in multiple classes. Has won unlimited races, has won limited class races. It's been really amazing to watch him. We've had a ton of other big name drivers that have came from other sports, and even in off-road, that can't come figure out the rocks. And Vaughn did his homework, worked his butt off, and has really done amazing. It's been really cool getting to watch all this. It's
just
quite a driver.
The 2 videos back to back where Bob's crawling at 5 miles an hour, passing someone, to this screaming across the lake bed.
That is the epitome of Ultra4, because you got to be able to do both those things in the same breath of air and be able to do them well.
That's so good. And seeing Vaughn do that too is nice, just because he's, we spoke to him. He seems like a good dude. And we've also seen a bunch of other people go from the one motorsport, like you said, to another, or some extreme sport to motorsports, expecting great success, only to not.
It's a tough thing. So in all our spare time that they've been teaching me how to drift a little bit.
Nice.
And that turns into I don't think I realized how good and precise of drivers that they are, because they have to be on every millisecond during a drift run. With off-road racing, you can make 100 mistakes during the race and still win the race, but with Formula Drift, you definitely don't get that. So this is kind of shows you some good influence of what those boys have taught me to do in my Ultra4 truck too, which is this is pretty wild.
Isn't going sideways fun though?
It really is. And it's taken me about 10 years to get the confidence to be able to do this in one of our trucks on 40-inch tall, sticky tires, with no cutting brakes. It's all commitment and feel in the truck. So it's been a lot of fun learning to drift my Ultra4 truck, and definitely owe it all to Vaughn and Chelsea Denofa, the one of the third fun haver teammates.
That's
right, because you were all at SEMA, right?
We were all at SEMA. I think we were running triples out there with the drift cars at one point. It was a good time.
Don't even know what to say. That's just madness. That's me. I know a bunch of people said they showed up at booth and watched some stuff and were like, I got hit in the face with a tire.
That sounds about right for SEMA.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, King of the Hammers is our Daytona 500. So we just kicked off the biggest race of the year, and now it's time to get ready for the rest of the race season. So we'll do 8-ish more races this year. Our next one starts pretty early in March. I think I'll be over at the Mint 400 racing my Ultra4 truck over at the Mint 400, and then we'll have Easter Jeep Safari, Bronco, Bronco Safari in Moab, and we'll be hitting all the off-road events for the rest of the year. It's always exciting to get out and get to wheel and hang out with all our friends that are out in the trails and into the same type of adventures.
Yeah, we absolutely enjoyed Bronco Safari coinciding with Easter Jeep. Like, here's Jeep with one of their like landmark events, and here's a bunch of Broncos also out on the trails too. Like, every now and then Ford plays that marketing game really well.
Yep. And I always look back at that, and Jeep doesn't even really support Easter Jeep Safari. We just don't know what else to call the vehicles there. Because it's all been Jeep. So
yeah,
I mean, I got ridiculed on social media because I didn't want to say the word Jeep there the whole time we were there. So I kept calling it Easter Safari or Easter off-road safari or something.
Nice.
And I was getting ridiculed pretty heavily, but it's not a Jeep sponsored event. It's an off-road event, and everybody's welcome. Bring whatever vehicles you want, and be a good part of the community and go have fun.
Jeep's biggest contribution is the concepts that they do.
Yeah,
but that's
for sure.
That's kind of just developing their own brand and doing their own marketing, not really anything else.
Yeah.
Ford was like, we could do that. So call RTR, call ARB. Like, this is easy.
Yep. We got cool partners too. We can build some cool stuff.
Exactly.
So, the electric Jeep this year was pretty neat to check out downtown though. That's pretty cool. I'm excited to see off-road get electrified, and it's going to be an interesting next 10 or 20 years of technology and how everything develops, and it's a great time to be alive and see the V8 battles going on in trucks, and the horsepower battles going on, and
size battles.
Yeah. We're all back to big vehicles. Little cars are going away. It's and then we're gonna have cool electric vehicles.
How do you see electric fitting into Ultra4?
I mean, so they already started an electric class.
Yeah.
So I know, wild. So they had one vehicle compete last year. He finished the race. It was like 70 miles or something that he had to do.
Which that was the 4Runner based one, right?
Yep, that was the 4Runner based one.
Yeah,
and so I believe he raced again this year, but they actually gave out 10 EV spec packages to race teams across the Ultra4 community, and there'll be 10 more vehicles getting built this year to start racing next year. So there's a whole EV class. There's a spec class or a modified, kind of you do it your way class. So I think
they call it Tesla battery class.
Yeah. Go grab a Tesla, cut it apart, and do it how you want to do it.
Portals under a Tesla. Oh man.
Right. And it's coming, my man. It is coming. You get ready. It's going to be here in the next couple of years. You just wait.
I have a picture, but it's so small. I want to share it.
Have you followed the development of Extreme E at all?
I have, yeah. I have been watching Extreme E, and I've got a couple of friends. Yeah, that's the spec class right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So
it'll be it's fun to see who puts batteries where.
Yes.
Right.
Counterweight.
And how they mount drivetrains and how are they going to work around it. It's the cool thing about Ultra4 is everybody's very innovative, but most of them are doing it in their garage or their personal shops. They're not, having big, huge companies out there doing it for them. The people standing there are going to be trying to build this in their garage and see if they can't figure it out.
So it looks like 335 horse, but 800 torque.
Oh, right.
Love it. Electric is so silly with those numbers. Just so much fun.
Yeah. The torque and the instant power is life-changing for sure. So hopefully we can figure out how to hot swap batteries, because that's going to be the thing is how to keep battery life long enough and safely hot swap a battery like a cordless drill and swap the battery and keep on moving.
Yep. When you take the battery out and drop it on your foot. No, never done that. That'll be good. It'll be good to see, and it just is more opportunities to keep this stuff at the forefront of the car world.
How many miles is Hammers?
So the unlimited race, the big race was 240 miles this year. The stock class or the spec race that you'll probably see those guys competing in was 160 miles this year. So it's a pretty decent range. They're talking they can get 45 minutes to an hour out of it, but they're going to cater the EV class to these cars. If they can only race for an hour, then maybe the race is only 50 miles. That's fine.
Right.
But they're going to start pushing the technology and figuring out how to get an extra 20 minutes of runtime out of it, and how to hack something somehow, and it'll just keep pushing development, and that's the cool thing about racing.
So
awesome.
Good. Yeah, so good.
It's the kind of thing like when war actually brings more life-saving technology kind of thing, like racing is how get like extreme E and the EV class of Ultra4, like that is how we're going to get these things pushed to the limit, because Ultra4 has already done that with like all of the different differentials and suspension packages that now exist in the world that never existed before.
For sure. The new all-wheel drive trophy trucks that everybody's whooping everybody's butt with down in Baja right now are literally just a big Ultra4 truck. This exact same technology, same ideas, same principles. Those guys just took what we've been doing on a budget and ran with it on limited budgets. And now all the trophy trucks that are the baddest trophy trucks in Baja are all Ultra4 technology.
They're literally all-wheel drive now?
Yeah. The top trucks are all-wheel drive. Mid engines with the motors behind the driver and passenger, just like my race truck. It's the same thing. Got portals on the fronts. It's
cheat code.
They still have the giant hoods.
Oh yeah, big huge bodies that cover up the tires.
Cut them like a buggy. Let's go.
Right? They got to make it look like something, because that's how you get OEM support. Hopefully,
that's true.
That Ford or Chevy or Dodge is going to see your truck that looks like it, and they're going to want to support you and write you a big check.
That's so great.
It's awesome.
Sweet, man. Do you have anything you want to promote? I mean, we kind of have been doing it.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you guys' time, and excited for the future of Vaughn and I's company with Fun Haver Off-Road. We've got an awesome brand going. Building some really cool parts for Broncos right now, from some basic bolt-on bumper type stuff all the way to crazy long travel suspensions and portals and stuff to put 42-inch Netto tires on top of stuff. So
portals, crazy.
Yep.
Madness.
It's cool stuff, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of, and excited to see where all that grows. It's definitely consuming a lot of my time right now with getting all that up and running, but it's a lot of fun. Couldn't be more grateful to be a part of everything we got going on right now.
So I know you quit your day job, but you're now like back to having a day job and racing. Like you just created your own day job out of it.
It's just all the same.
Right. No, you're very right. And it is. Racing is busier than ever and taking up more of my time. And then, but I guess the way I look at it is maybe this is the end game, because you can't be a race car driver when you're 60 and have, no body left and your back's broken and that type of stuff. So maybe this is looking towards the future a little bit. And at some point, I'd like to put maybe my kids or younger kids into our race trucks, and I'll watch from the outside and continue to manage the race team and continue to help the sport grow. But I may not be the one in the race truck for all that much longer.
Do you have
fingers in it though?
Yeah. Do you have smaller vehicles for them already? Like I was just looking at the Polaris RZR, what is it, 200?
Yep. So my kids all learned to drive in a Razor 170. My daughter was driving it when she was like 4 or 5 years old. I've been doing some co-driving with her. So we go to some desert races in our Razor that she drives, and I go co-drive with her. So she's done a couple 100-mile races. She's a great little rock crawler. Like I said, she's driven the Rubicon, and if she wants to continue to do more of it, and or my younger kids, if they want to do it, let's go. I'll support it, but trying not to force anything down their throat, because I love it. Like, try not to be.
I completely understand.
Right, but if you want to do it, let's go do it. It's sometimes it's hard to find the time, but it's cool.
The only thing I force on them is getting outside cell phone range. If I can get them outside that,
hell yeah.
After that, like they can do whatever they want, but like dad's installing that. So a couple weeks ago, I did a photo shoot with a buddy because I needed to borrow a gator, and so I went out to his farm. But my 10-year-old, I was leaving at 6:30 in the morning. At 6:25, he was like, "Hey, can I go?" I was like, "If you can get clothes on in the next 5 minutes and be in the truck, you can go." And he was ready. He went, and so, but he got to drive the gator for 5-10 minutes just on a farm road. But he literally hit me up Monday and was like, "So when are we going again?" And I was like, "Homie, we don't." we're kind of landlocked here. Like we're surrounded by neighborhoods. Like we don't have everybody else is some guy's farm. Like it's just I need better connections.
Yeah. Now that's awesome. And I think that's what it's all about with kids at that age and their experience. And it's tough in the technology world that we live in right now. And they're so glued to their phones and so addicted. And, I look back and our parents were telling us how worthless our generation was and how we weren't going to grow up to be anything. And so
watching too much TV.
Right. We're addicted to video games, whatever we were worthless at.
Yeah.
I'm looking at our kids and I'm like, they're worthless. They're just glued to their phones and they want to TikTok all day long. But I'm try to do the best you can raising a good kid and instill good values and see where they land.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, sweet. I'm going to wrap it up real fast. You can rate and review this show on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can watch the video of this on Spotify and YouTube. It's in both places. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow Loren. He's at Loren_Healy on Instagram. And then Funhaver is just at Funhaver. One word, right?
Yep.
I did find Josh too. He's at MBRP Josh.
Yep.
Josh was very difficult to find. And then obviously Vaughn, RTR Vehicles. And then if you want to follow Ultra4, it's at Ultra4 Racing on Instagram. It's very different on Facebook. Facebook is really hard to look up. Find Ultra4.
As is tradition.
You can follow Hooniverse, the Hooniverse on Twitter, the real Hooniverse on Instagram. You can read what we write. This 2 weeks in a row, I've struggled with the thing I have said hundreds of times now.
Tripping over your own words.
You can read what
because your brain's one step further than your mouth.
Yeah, maybe it's because I have written on the show notes. You can read our writing, which is a better way to say it. On Hooniverse, UTV driver, ATV rider, everyday driver, and U.S. News and World Report. Ross is at No Not Like the One from Friends, and I'm at Overlanding Dad. And that's it. We've done a show. Thank you, Loren.
Thanks, Loren.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time, and hopefully I'll run into you on the trail somewhere.
Hell yeah.
Definitely. Very much.
So.